Good evening, my love. It is Paul. I am here with you for our 30-minute evening practice. So this practice is all about grounding ourselves and getting ready for bed after what I'm sure was an amazing day for you. So a few things that we'll need: 2 blocks, and situate them at the top of your mat. They'll be there when we need them. You'll also need a blanket for today, and the blanket that you have, if you can get something that's firm once you fold it, like a comforter is going to be too soft for what we need. But grab your blanket now. We're going to set it up now so that when we use it at the end of class, we don't have to fumble with it. It'll be all set. So take your blanket, fold it in half, long ways, so that the short edge meets the short edge. And then from this position, take it so that, again, the short edge meets the short edge. So you have this. And then we're going to roll it up kind of like into a noodle shape. So try to make it as tight as you possibly can. Rolling it all the way down. And then just place this off to the side towards the left side of your mat. Again, it'll be there when we need it. Let's begin. Let's start with our feet just outside of our hip distance, maybe under shoulder distance. Take a deep breath in, reach up, link fingers together, a nice long stretch. Inhale. And then exhale, let's shake out our arms. Let's do that again. Inhale, sweep up. Long stretch and exhale. 2 more like that. Breathe in. This time, if it feels good, maybe we lift our sternum, opening wide, and exhale. 1 more time. Good job. This time, let's take a deep breath in. Sweeping arms up, stepping feet just a little bit wider, inhaling, and as we exhale, swing down. Big breath out. Let's do this 4 more times. Big breath in as we reach, big breath out as we swing down. I love to do this, especially after a hectic day, just to get rid of any of the stress from the day. 1 more time. Inhale. A slow shake down. Good job. Bringing our feet now hip distance. Let's clasp our hands behind our back, just turning our arm bones out here and lifting our sternum to the sky for this big chest expansion. Breathing in. Now I'll show you from the side. Our knees are soft, pubic bone presses forward, ribs drawn in, and sternum straight up to the sky. Breath. Exhale. Let's take 1 more deep breath in, feeling wide across our collarbones. And then as we exhale, let's soften our knees, hinging forward from hips, and allowing ourselves to fold in half completely. Now we can stay with our hands bound behind our back, or placing our hands on the ground and relaxing our head and neck. Whatever feels most comfortable for us here. Let's take a deep breath in. And exhale. Some of us who might be feeling a little tighter in our chest, maybe we were sitting at a desk all day, we might rest our hands on our low back here and focus on taking our shoulders back behind one another. Let's take 1 more deep breath. And then as we exhale, let's lower hands to the floor and place blocks in front of feet. Fingertips on blocks. We'll tent our fingers here. Inhale, lengthening, lifting eye gaze, and then exhale, fold. Let's do that 2 more times. One more deep breath in. And as we exhale, let's fold ourselves in half, moving our blocks out of the way and stepping back to plank. Let's lower our knees to the floor and find ourselves in child's pose. Now, child's pose is toes together, knees really wide, sinking back and dropping our chest to the ground. Now, if the floor seems too far, just grab one of your blocks, place it underneath your forehead, and any level of the block will do, as long as we can feel ourselves passively rest into this position. And after a couple breaths, we might even lower the block a little bit as our hips begin to soften, as our back begins to relax. with our forehead, whether it's on a block or the ground, just begin to rock side to side. And what this starts to do is release some stress-relieving hormones into our body. And it's a nice little way to relax the muscles of our forehead, especially if we've been staring at a screen all day or if it's been really bright where we are. We tend to scrunch up our forehead a little bit. It's a nice way to just soften all of that. And then inhale, let's lift our head, moving our block out of the way. Eye gaze forward, and then rounding our spine like a cat. Let's shift our body weight forward into kneeling plank, taking our knees in, hip distance. Exhale, slide back again. Let's do that 2 more times. Inhale, rounding our spine, caterpillar forward. Exhaling back. 1 more time, inhaling forward. This time as we exhale, let's tuck our toes and push our butt back towards our heels, just stretching the bottoms of our feet. As we press back, let's lift our eye gaze. Really think of pushing palms down into the ground, but at the same time pushing butt back. Taking 1 more inhale. As we exhale, rise up, and let's step our left foot forward and on the outside of our left hand. So setting this up here so that our foot is wider than our shoulders, and some of us might even inch our toes forward just a little bit. Now take blocks, bring them in close, and on the inside of your right foot. Now some of us might have our blocks quite high, and that's fine. Some of us might even have our blocks on the outside of our hips, and this is wonderful if this is where we are today, especially if we've been sitting at a desk a lot, our hips are feeling tight. This might be where we are. Some of us might take our hands on the inside of our block, our blocks on the inside of our leg and sink a little bit lower. Now we might be here. We might have our block a little bit lower, closer to the ground. Maybe, just maybe, today's the day where our fingertips touch the ground. It doesn't matter what level we're at today, as long as we're inhaling and then exhaling, pressing pubic bone forward and sinking a little bit deeper, sliding our shoulders away from our ears. Now from here, let's slide our weight back and lift our front toes, creating a little bit of a stretch in the back of our leg. Wonderful if we've been sitting at a desk all day today. Inhale forward and exhaling back. Let's start to move with our breath. And again, variation if needed, hands a little bit higher on the outside of our hips. Now as we do this, keep a little bit of weight in hands so that there's not so much pressure on our back knee. Let's go 1 more time, forward and back. And now this one, you might or might not love it. Let's see what happens. Coming forward, we can stay here. If this is feeling challenging, if this is taking a lot of our focus to soften, stay right here. Otherwise, take blocks on the inside, walk forward, and then walk over towards the right side. So our torso's on a bit of a diagonal. Now inhale, lift chest, and then exhale, come forward. And you might take your blocks a little bit wider to do this. Inhale, lift. Exhale, sink. Feeling a nice stretch in our left butt, in our right front hip. 1 more time. Inhale, climb up. Walk hands back to center. Place blocks on either side. Tuck toe. Lift hips and back to downward facing dog. Oh, just walk it out here. A little pedal here. 1 heel down, then the other. And then eye gaze forward, rolling through, caterpillar to plank. Let's lower to knees. Elbows turn in, crocodile all the way to the floor. Tops of our feet down. Fingertips come forward. Inhale, lift chest, but using the muscles of our back. Fingertips are very light here. So we exhale, coming back down, pressing up, back to downward facing dog. And then gliding through plank. Knees down, and let's step our right foot forward and wide on the outside of our right hand. Now, we might need to help out our leg a little bit, so help it out. Then we might take our blocks find some space and even scooch our toes forward a little bit. If that's you, go for it. Inhale, inner thighs engaged, pressing pubic bone forward, feeling the stretch here, and then going into whatever expression of the pose speaks to our body today. Keep in mind all of the movement that you've already experienced today. This is meant to just stretch it out and open up. Good, softening just a little bit more before we begin to find our flow. Inhaling, and then as we exhale, lifting toes, shifting butt back, hinge forward. Inhaling through. And back. Let's go one more time. And then inhaling forward, with or without our blocks, you choose. Let's take them on the inside and then walking over towards the left corner. Our right foot is still forward. Inhaling, lift chest, and exhaling down. Again, hands a little bit wider than shoulders here to give us the stability. 2 more. One more. Inhale through center. Keep blocks on either side of mat. Tuck back toes, lift hips, find downward facing dog. So now we might be feeling like our hips are a little bit more loosened up so we can find a deeper expression of downward facing dog. Just ensure knees are bent, sit bones high, and pressing palms down to create length and open through upper body. Now I have quite long arms and my hamstrings are quite short. So what happens is I need to bend my knees a lot, and it looks like my hands are a little bit closer than what would be considered ideal. But that's because when I come forward into plank, my shoulders will be directly over my fingertips. So let's try that. Come forward, shoulders directly over fingertips, then soften knees, press up and back. Keeping knees soft. Let's go through that 2 more times. Inhaling, caterpillar forward, elbows in. Long spine, exhale, up and back. 1 more time here, gliding forward, big breath. Turn elbows in, eye gaze forward, shifting past fingertips, knees down, and let's find ourselves through crocodile all the way to the floor. Tops of our feet down, fingertips forward, lifting chest. Remember, the muscles of our back are doing most of the work here as we press our feet down. And then exhaling down. Hands by ribs, tuck toes, press up and back, child's pose. Keep toes tucked, important here. Taking 3 breaths. Now lift eyes, take your blocks with you, and we're coming into modified hero. So modified hero keeps our toes tucked under. Now first, let's bring our blocks to the highest level, shift forward, untuck toes, and just flop them out a little bit. Circle ankles in one direction, then the other. You might want to do this one at a time if you need less pressure for knees. Shake, 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 shake. Tuck toes. And we're pressing weight back into our hips so that our hips can rest on our heels. Now this is a deep, deep stretch for the bottoms of our feet. And it's really important that we stretch the bottoms of our feet. All of the connective tissue here can lead to tightening along the entire back line of our body. So sometimes with the tightness of the connective tissue on the bottoms of our feet, we feel tightness in our calves, our hamstrings, our butt, our low back. So this is loosening up that a little bit. So we're going to do this a few more times. Come forward, unhook, shake it out. I like to give my feet a little bit of a tap on the ground. That tends to wake up some of the energy. Tuck one more time. Now this time, sink back. Some of us might choose to stay here. Some of us might come a little bit more up. Some of us might even take our blocks to the highest level or maybe the medium level, taking our hands back behind us to open up through hips and chest. Now check this out. Lift pelvis, press pubic bone forward, almost like we're tucking our tail underneath. Then lower hips back to heels and lift chest. Some of us might stay here. Some of us might even lift by squeezing butt a little bit more and then walk hands to a place where they're directly under shoulders. We got 3 breaths here, wide across our collarbones, heads not hanging back. Keep chin tucked slightly. Breathe. Opening up through the entire front of our body. One more time. And then we exhale, slowly lower hips, walk hands forward. You can leave blocks where they are, unhook feet, and let's find ourselves in child's pose. Now I'm going to keep my knees together. If that feels good for you, do the same, because this will give us a little bit of a stretch through our lumbar spine, our lower back. If we reach long, this might open us up a little bit. Something a little more passive, we might take our arms by our side. And once again, our forehead, if it's on the ground or perhaps we've placed a block underneath our forehead, just rock side to side. Come on up. Lift chest. Ooh, let's have a seat. Now keep blocks on either side of you here. We're going to work with something to open up through the whole back side of our body. So starting with a wide-legged position here, let's take our left foot towards our groin. Our right leg is extended out long. Now it's important that we keep our knee soft here. So depending on the length of hamstrings, might be a deep knee bend like so. We might extend our leg a little bit more. Just as long as our right butt cheek stays grounded, this is the position for us. Taking a deep inhale, some of us might stay here. Some of us might take our hands behind our back, lifting our chest, and this will give us a deep stretch in our groin and a little bit in our hamstring. Inhaling. Now as we exhale, let's start to hinge forward, and we might walk our hands to create a little bit more of a stretch. Now, we're going to be here for like 10 breaths, so we might spend 4 or 5 breaths here, then we might spend 2 or 3 breaths here, and then we might spend another 4 or 5 breaths here. So just taking our time to move into it. We've got no rush. It's the end of the day, nothing else to do. Let's take one more deep breath in, and maybe you find that you've come a little bit more forward, maybe your leg is lengthened a little bit more. Let's walk over towards our right side and just hook right elbow beside right knee. Now left hand comes to left shoulder. Use it to, left hand right shoulder. Use it to open up chest here. And then reach all the way back. We're making this long diagonal line. Now inhale, like we're tracing the ceiling. Reach up overhead and see how far you can reach top arm. Maybe we take it over towards our big toe, but keep top shoulder open. Some of us might even be here a little bit higher. Works just as well, as long as we're breathing into our side body. Let's take 2 more breaths just like this. Every exhalation, we anchor left hip down a little bit more. We reach our left fingertips a little bit more out. 1 more breath. And then as we exhale, using left side body, come back up. Bending right knee, crossing right ankle over left thigh. Chest lifted. Right hand comes behind our back. Left hand to the sky. Opening up our left side again, inhaling. Then as we exhale, twisting towards the right, we might give our knee a big hug, or we might even hook our elbow in front of our knee. Whichever we choose, making sure it's passive. We want to breathe deep into our lumbar spine, deep into the lowest lobes of our ribs, of our lungs. Let's go 1 more breath. And then as we exhale, let's unravel here, taking a look to the opposite side, and then opening up, Feet nice and wide, and just rock knees side to side. Whew, this should feel like a nice little release after the deep stretching of the backs of our legs and our hips. Other side now. Left leg extends, right foot towards groin. Again, if your left butt cheek's coming off the floor, knee bent is going to be very helpful here. And then inhale. We're here for a while, so breathe into it. Exhale. Couple more breaths. So remember, after each second or third breath, see if there's a deeper expression of the pose that you can find. So my hip on this side here tends to be a little bit more sticky than the other ones. So I find myself, I have to stay elevated a little bit higher in the beginning before I can take it further. That may be you, that may not be you. So just play with it. Again, pressing heel away. Grounding our left sit bone, taking one more breath. And then from here, let's walk over towards left. Taking our right hand to left shoulder, open up. I like to trace across my chest, making sure it's nice and open, inhaling. And then as we exhale, let's stretch up overhead, feeling the beautiful, glorious space that we're creating. Soft jaw, long body. Softening our shoulders. One more deep breath. And then as we exhale, we use our right side body this time, climb up. Left leg crosses over right ankle. Anchor, sit bone down, chest lifted. And then exhaling, twist. So I like to hug my knee in. You might like to take elbow in front. Now just make sure that there's no force in this twist. We want it to be as passive as possible. It's almost like you just placed your body in this position. It landed like this, and you're able to breathe your way into a deeper expression of the pose. One more deep inhale. And let's take a look to the other side. And then opening up, knees, feet wide, and just rock it out side to side. So we're making our way onto our back, and we will need our rolled up blanket. And if you don't have a rolled up blanket, also a pillow will do. So just take rolled up blanket, and we've got two ways that we're going to practice our final posture. So we can start with our towel or blanket vertical, so it's pointed up and down. Take one of your blocks and just place it above head in case we need it. And then from here, we're placing the blanket as close to our pelvis as possible, and then just slowly lowering ourselves down. So we're lying with our spine parallel to the blanket. And we want to make sure that it's long enough. Mine isn't quite long enough, and this is where my blanket or my block comes in, because it'll be resting just underneath my head. So this is a great chest expansion, and if it feels like there's a lot of compression in our lower back, we might keep our knees bent and stay exactly like this. Now for some of us, this might not feel like much, or it might be too much, so we'll play with it. You can make your roll a little bit smaller by rolling it less and keeping some of the excess just unraveled. Another option would be to lift yourself up and turn the blanket horizontally. And when we lower ourselves down, we want to place it, ladies, at our bra line, or gentlemen, you want to find a place just where your armpits can rest on top of your blanket. I'm going to adjust myself a little bit here. And then we lower ourselves back. If you feel like your neck is hanging in space, just place your block underneath, and choice to keep knees bent or legs extended. Now find a place where you can completely surrender here. Relaxing the muscles of our jaw, relaxing the muscles of our chest. Let's use our breath here to create a little bit more space in our abdomen. A little bit more space in between our ribs. A little bit of space across our collarbones. Now where can we invite some softness? Maybe our forehead? Maybe our jaw? Maybe the softness is in the transition between our in and out breath. Now we might even slow our exhalation down. So if we were counting our breath, maybe our in-breath is 5, and our out-breath is 6 or 7. Now the tendency is to be very aware of the movement of our mind, especially when we're in a still position. So bring your mind into one focus, let it be your breath. So that rather than your mind having the opportunity to bounce from one thought to the next, it's simply focused on breath. Focus on different aspects of the breath. Maybe the way your body softens on the exhalation. Maybe the sound of your inhalation. Maybe your eyes are closed, and as you focus in on the in and out breath, you create a picture in your mind of what that looks like. On your next in-breath, take your arms overhead and reach very long here. And as you do this, begin to arch your back a little bit. I'm going to bend my knees to make this happen. And then while you're arching back, just slide your blanket from underneath you, remove any blocks, and stretch out even longer. And then take knees into chest. Give yourself a big hug. Eyeballs towards knees and squeeze in tight. Let's take our right arm overhead and just roll onto your right side body here. And from here, breathe in through your left nostril. Breathe out through your right nostril. Now, this is all just stuff that we're doing in our mind. What tends to happen is one nostril is working more than the other or is more open than the other. And just visualize that it's the left one that's open as you inhale, and it's the right one that's open as you exhale. And what we're doing here is we bring all of the weight off of our left side, and we bring it to the top. We're actually inviting more of a passive sensation into our body. The left side is associated with all things feminine, nurturing. Let's take one more deep inhale. And as we exhale, gently pressing ourselves up, using our left hand, coming to seated. Let's meet our hands at our heart center. May our sleep tonight be restful, so that we can wake up in the morning refreshed and ready for a new day. As always, the light and the love within me honors the light and the love within you. Namaste.